Hi everyone, Paul here, and in today's video we're going to have a look at how to paraphrase effectively. Okay, let's go.
Summarizing and paraphrasing are the two elements of academic writing that appear to be the most problematic for our students, and it's something that needs to be worked on. It's something that is a skill. Like any skill, you develop your abilities to be able to achieve your paraphrasing, your summarizing well and suitably, and to avoid the academic integrity problems that you could face if it was not done well. So I'm going to spend a few minutes just talking through how we can do it. So first of all, why? Obviously, we want to make sure that you understand what you're talking about and what you bring into your writing. So the way that you paraphrase and summarize clearly demonstrates to us, or the people that are marking your assignments, that you do know what you're talking about. You need to bring ideas together into your writing. So you may have 2 or 3 journal articles that you're using, and the ideas across those 2 or 3 articles support each other, or perhaps 2 support each other and one argue against it. And you need to describe that clearly in your writing. So to synthesize these ideas and bring them into your writing through paraphrasing, summarizing, and obviously citing where it came from. Uh, as you are probably already aware, some of these journal articles are very difficult to understand. Certainly, they're not designed for you to understand straight off. Reading carefully the articles is very, very important. Of course, there is also a strategic element to reading an article. We have to focus, first of all, on the title and the abstract. That should give us enough information whether the article is appropriate for our needs. Then we can read the introduction. And usually in the introduction, or the first element of a paper, it will define what the paper is about and give you the background, give you a lot of information. Now, at this point, especially early on in your academic career, you probably don't need to read through the methodology, and you probably don't need to read through the results. So you can jump to the discussion part of the article and read that very carefully. Because in the discussion, it will talk about the methodology and it will talk about the results, but in how it's applied and the results of and the discussion around those results. So read the abstract, read the introduction, read the discussion element of the paper, and the conclusion. Obviously, you read it through the conclusion. Immediately, that saves you time. So, okay, reading is very, very important. I mean, it's the most, to be honest, it's more or less the most important element of academic writing. Then we need to paraphrase and summarize that information that we have decided is appropriate. I would advise against quoting, certainly not extensively. A paper, your essay may have 2 or 3 quotes, but that's usually enough. And you quote what you can't write in your own words. You can't paraphrase or you can't summarize. It may be statistical information. It may be something that somebody has said, but it's something that's very, very difficult to paraphrase. Then you can consider quoting. But otherwise, you really should be relying on your skills of paraphrasing and summarizing. Okay, some ideas around how to paraphrase. Let's go back to that idea. Yes, we need to read a number of times. Make sure we've got it clear in our mind. Now we can, as we read through, we can highlight elements so that we have a focus when we go back to read. You know, the elements of that relate to your paper and your writing. You can highlight the vocabulary that's focused on those, the themes that your writing is about. Highlight them. Now we need to make some notes, and you can write them separately. Then, using your notes, you can start to write your version. And I recommend you do that from your notes without looking at the original text. Once we've written those notes, we can start to think about how we can reorganize and reorder the information that we're writing. We'll look at this later on. We really need to compare our product, our text with the original text, and then we fine tune it. We can see elements that are not quite the same or too close. And of course, we do need to cite the original. So let's have a look. Here we have a piece of text from an article written by Angus and Van der Pol in 2018, discussing severe sepsis and septic shock. So very, very briefly, in 1992, an international consensus panel defined sepsis as a systemic inflammatory response to infection, noting that sepsis could arise in response to multiple infectious causes, and that septicemia was neither a necessary condition nor a helpful term. Okay, we want to work on that. That's what we want to include in our writing. So let's start highlighting those bits that we think are appropriate and will be used in our paraphrase. So there we go. Okay. And very importantly, let's highlight the author. So we've got that, and we bring those notes into and away from the original text. Okay? Then we use these notes to build our text. And you can see here that I have actually used the authors up front. This is a really good idea. We can use the authors in our summary or paraphrase. So according to Angus and Van der Pol, 2018, sepsis was defined in 1992 as a systemic inflammatory response, SIRS. Now we can't change that because it's in there. Okay, so that's our text. That's from our notes. What do we need to do now? We need to compare these two. Now, if you have a look through, we can see that the last sentence, or the end of the last sentence, is a little bit too similar. Causes that septicemia was neither a necessary condition or a helpful term. And the panel noted that sepsis could occur in response to multiple infectious causes, and that septicemia was not a useful term or necessary condition. Okay, well, we swapped those two round, but I'm still not too happy with that. So I'm going to have to rewrite it further. And here is my final. The panel commented that sepsis could occur in response to multiple infectious causes, and that the label septicemia was not a suitable term or even a medical condition. So I have reworded it, so it's clearly a paraphrase. There's nothing there that would raise issues around academic integrity. Okay, another example. Again, of course, we read very carefully, but in this case, it's a more extended piece of text. And I'm going to pull the sentences apart, as you will see. And I'm going to work sentence by sentence in this case. And as I write the sentence to sentences, I think about how I could rebuild the sentence. So if the sentence structure is X plus Y equals Z, I can turn that sentence around and say, well, Z equals Y plus X, or Z equals X plus Y, or Z minus Y equals X, etc., etc. So we can rebuild our sentences. And as I said, often it's a good idea to put the citation up front. immediately it's different. It's quite different from the original. Okay, so as you can see, we have a more extensive text. I'll quickly read through. Modern concepts of sepsis was focused on the human response to invading organisms. 2001, a European Consensus Conference introduced the idea that sepsis is not a host inflammatory response to infection. For simplicity, the systemic inflammatory response syndrome, SIRS, was defined by 4 variables: temperature, heart rate, respiratory rate, and white blood cell count. Only minor abnormalities in these variables are needed for a patient to meet the SIRS criteria. Okay, so first sentence. Okay, and I'm going to recreate it. I'll let you have a look through that. But more or less, I've switched the second part of the sentence to the beginning and vice versa. The second sentence. What do I do here? So again, you can see, is the host's inflammatory response? Well, I brought that to the beginning, the body's response to invasive bacteria. So I have switched the sentence around completely and then rebuilt it with that as the beginning of the sentence. Okay, let's have a look through there. We have a bit of a problem here because we have the 4 variables. And it may be a little bit difficult because, you know, how are we going to change those variables when we know specifically that they are named in this way? Well, in this case, what I've done, the word rate is used twice. So let's bring heart rate and respiratory rate together and add the rate at the end. Heart and respiratory rates, body temperature, and white blood cell count. And finally, again, I've put the patient at the beginning of the sentence and I've built my sentence around that. So there's my constructed sentences. I need now to put them together so that they read appropriately. So we use the right kind of language to link these sentences together. And this is my paragraph. This is my paraphrased paragraph. And of course, let me let you read through it quickly. And as you know, as we said before, finally, we have to compare the original with our new paragraph. There's always going to be a few bits and pieces there that we may need to change. But as you can see, I've done a wonderful job. Okay, please feel free to use anything in the English for Health Sciences site, Blackboard site. You will be enrolled. If you need to talk to me, I'm accessible through the site. I have drop-in sessions where you can come along and talk to me as an individual or a small group. I run the sessions on campus. I do have online learning packages as well. And there are all the resources there to help you develop your academic and your professional communication skills. So I wish you all the best and look forward to seeing you during the semester. Goodbye.